What's up, everyone? This is Angelica. I'm on What's Up Real Estate Podcast live. And today, me and myself and co-host Michael Bardales, we have the pleasure of sharing some insight on Leadershift, which is this lovely book here, with our phenomenal friend in the business, Steve Peterson. So, Steve, go ahead and let the audience know who you are in your real estate journey.
Yeah, thanks, Angelica. I appreciate that. It's always good to be back with you and Mike and the team. Steve Peterson, I own and operate Infinity Investments, which is a commercial real estate brokerage and investment firm. I'm based out of Oakland. I started the company in November 2009, and I focus primarily on multifamily properties, but we do office properties, and I have agents that also do residential. I'm also very involved in the community, the Oakland community. I was also the past president of the Associated Real Property Brokers, which is the Oakland board of NARAB, which is the Black Brokerage Association, also the state president. So, I'm tapped in with all things Oakland and the community, but particularly real estate and commercial real estate is my thing. Also, CCIM, and I was the president of NorCal CCIM in 2018. So that was pretty dope, man. First brother to be president of that. So that was pretty dope. And I love John Maxwell and his content on leadership. Been following him forever. So when you shared this book with me, I was like, man, it was A1 perfect timing, bro. And I think we got some A1 content for y'all today.
Yeah, so let's get into it, man. You and Steve, man, me and Steve been rocking for quite some time, man. It's like my best friend in real estate right here. Started with YPN and now we're OGs. So it's cool that the Black and Brown production is still going on here. So, but let's get into you guys. So the book is called Leadership by John Maxwell. What it's basically doing is going to tell us 11 pillars of shifting that we need to do as leaders. The first pillar is soloist to conductor. How do we go to being a soloist to actually being a conductor? The other one is now focused on goals to growth. Now that we achieved our goals, now it's time to grow as well. We go from perks to price. That's exactly another one that we're going to talk about too. We go from pleasing people to challenging people. I know that's tough out there to actually challenge people to get out their comfort zones as well. Then we're going away from maintaining the way we do things to now creating new things, especially during COVID. I mean, that's the theme right now in 2021, is going from maintaining to changing. Another one we're going to uncover is also ladder climbing to ladder building. Once we climb these ladders and we accomplish things, how do we get away from saying, oh, this is what I did, this is what I'm doing? How do we go to build ladders for those behind us as well? Now we go from directing to actually connecting, right? So before we used to tell everyone what to do, now we're connecting people now in this environment as well. We're going away from team uniformity to team diversity. That's another thing that we're going to talk about too. The other a couple of ones are positional authority to moral authority. Another one is trained leaders to transformational leaders. And I love that topic a lot. And the last one is going from your career to your calling as well. So what we're going to dive into are 4 core concepts. The one is going to be the improvement shift. That's talking about team uniformity to team diversity. Then we're going to talk about the abundance shift. That's going from maintaining to creating. The next one we're going to cover is reproduction shift. That's going from ladder climbing to ladder building. And the last one we're going to cover is impact shift, which is going from trained leaders to actual transformational leaders. So I'll let Angelica go and ask Steve the first question.
Yeah, Steve. So with this, one pillar that Michael shared with us was the improvement shift. And the meaning behind that is, uniformity to team diversity. So it's definitely a loaded question, right? For example, company brands was the huge focus in brokerages, whereas now we see more individual brands like popping up and doing their own thing. So how can we change from the mindset of a uniform team to embracing diversity amongst the people that we do lead?
Yeah, and that's, I think that's also beyond business, right? I think that hits in society. I mean, it's a big thing with all the, social unrest and racial injustice that we've seen in the history of this country, but particularly in the last year, right? But as it relates to business and real estate particularly, this is you mentioned the individual team or the individual brand is the thing now, and agent teams also are the thing within a brokerage. And I have a team of agents, over 20 agents that work for me. I encourage them all to have their own LLC. When I pay them, I should be paying your LLC and not you. I encourage them to say, you are running your own business, right? However, within the context of, so I don't think this, at least my interpretation is, I don't think this concept totally obliterates uniformity, but it transcends it beyond just the company or the overall structure, if you will. It then transcends into the individual and their team and their brand and their way of thinking. And I think of it like, I coach football in the sports, and you think about a team, a really great team is one where if football, if all 11 players are quarterback, we got a problem, right? If all 11 players are linemen, we got a problem. If all 11 players are receivers, we got a problem. We need the linemen to be linemen, the receivers to be receivers, QBs to be QBs, running backs to be running backs. Everybody's got to play their role. The key is to play their role with excellence. And that, I think, is what I'm getting out of this book and out of the concepts from John Maxwell, is that, look, as leaders, now we need to see what people's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and arrange them in a way in which that they can do what they do best and support that. But I think support that structurally. So that's why I think it doesn't completely obliterate uniformity, but it transcends it in a way where people can be themselves, and not have to we not all robots, you know what I'm saying? If there has to be, you know what I mean, doing the boogaloo, there has to be some flavor and there has to be some culture within that, you know what I mean? And, particularly in real estate, man, I mean, we got the coolest business, y'all. I mean, we're in the Bay Area, everybody's in tech and all this. Real estate's the coolest business, all right? And so we have a lot of different people, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different, like we talk about in my company, we talk about our negotiation strategies and how to deal with situations. And every single time there's some principles that apply everywhere, but you have to be able to connect with the individual in order to push the ball forward. Whatever our principles are, they're not going to work if you may have this great negotiation strategy or this great marketing plan or this great sales plan or this great operational technology. But if you're not able to make the connections, then it's all worthless. You know what I mean? And that's what I see where we talk about team uniformity to team diversity, is figuring out what people's strengths are and helping them to play to that strength.
You know
and
what?
Our role is, and we got to support that.
I want to tap into this too. I mean, I want to
Yeah.
add to what you're saying because I totally agree with all of what you're saying. This resonates with me a lot because, I mean, I preach this all the time to Michael and he gives me a hard time about it, but I'm my authentic self, and in business that feeds into what I do in my business. So
Yeah.
I'm also going to plug Radius because that's who I am too. So like I work under Radius, the brokerage, and I'm still able to operate under my personal brand. So I'm still able to conduct business who I am. And, I think Radius has been a genius for that. And I think that they're moving to that pathway, which is great. So I see when brokerages support their agents with growth individually, like you said, like you create excellence. So I think, it's just facts, like moving as an orchestra, basically. So I think that it's really brilliant to think this way.
And if we talk about it, we're talking about an orchestra. Let's talk about Motown, what Berry Gordy did. He created the Motown sound, but had every individual there have their own uniqueness, right? The Jackson's Fives, the Temptations, all these people. To me, I've like, the Berry Gordy model is the shit, man. You think about it, it's one mission, right? Uniformity. We all got to have a same sound. We all got to have that. But we knew when Marvin came on. We knew when the Temptations came on. We knew when Stevie came on, right? So that's definitely a great way of proving that it works that way, where we can all come at, have that one brand, but at the same time, embrace the diversity within that team.
Right.
Awesome, man. So let's talk a little bit about the abundance shift from maintaining to creating, right? It's easy, and COVID the world, right?
Yeah.
But what we used to do to what we can do has changed dramatically, right? But at the same time, it's kind of hard to get out of our old ways, right? Sometimes we're like,
Yeah.
we can't wait for that open house to come. We can't wait to go door knocking again. We can't wait to do those things, right? So,
Yeah.
Steve, what are some things that you can do when we get to the point of us struggling by maintaining our old ways and not changing into the new way of doing business?
Well, you mentioned like the pandemic, right? And if there's one event that hasn't woke us up to, things we need to change, is this pandemic, right? And for me, I'm in commercial real estate, and I'm sure you guys who are in residential as well. A big part of how we lead generate is banging out the phones on cold calls, but particularly in commercial, it's a different kind of a business in terms of the clientele and people you deal with. Most of the deals, and I say most because most of the deals that trade don't actually even hit the market, right? So it's a different world. In the pandemic, when it first hit, some people in the business were like, "Hey, everybody's gonna be home. Let's call them. Let's call them." For me, I took a step back, man. I backed up and was like, "Look, everybody's stressing right now. You know what I mean? I don't want to be. Let me think about this different. You know what I mean? Let me not just bang out these phones while people going through the pandemic, wondering if they're gonna have a job, wondering how they're gonna feed their kids, what's going on." And so for me, what I did, and I think this is a microcosm of just change in general, what we thinking abundantly, meaning that you don't have to also take a little bit of a risk, a little bit, just a little bit. Well, I did. I said, I'm going hard on these videos, man. I'm gonna do these videos. Been doing some videos before, but I was like, I'm gonna spend a lot of the time in my daily time slot where I was banging the phones out cold calling. And believe me, I still cold call. But at that time, I said, I'm gonna take a couple months off of the cold calling and go and do these videos, in the sense of, let me do these videos to attract business from a different way. And it wasn't not just attract business. I said, let me add value. Let me bring value to the table.
There you go.
And thinking of, well, what does my ideal clientele want to hear? What does my ideal clientele, you know, um, want to learn? What do they need support with, right? And
Right.
so for me, it was okay, well, I got to do these videos, and that was a tangible thing. It wasn't like something in the world where I'm, just pie in the sky thinking. It was, all right, this is a tangible shift. Now I think about this, I'm giving away a lot of content, maybe even giving away content to competitive commercial brokers I'm working with, whether people may listen to this content and never do business with me, right? But the thought is I'm bringing value. And if I bring value, then the marketplace will respond with business. I've got to be on my hop to make it happen. But that was what I was thinking. And so I brought that idea to my team as we were going through. And we also changed our sales meetings from physical meetings to obviously the Zoom, right? Which, by the way, for me, increased attendance at my sales meeting. So it actually kind of was a. I don't know about y'all brokers out there. If you do sales meetings, dude, my attendance at my sales meetings like doubled or tripled during the pandemic, and it was just one of those little things. But going back to the video, it's just something you got to continually, especially with this technology age that we're in, continually be looking at ways to think bigger, in a way where you are bringing value. And I think so much of the old model of how we do things, but especially in commercial, residential too, but especially in commercial, the old model of how we do things is this scarcity mindset of only hustle, 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 and I can only double in deals, and I'm not going to share with other brokers. I'm not going to cooperate. I'm not going to do all this, and me, 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 me. And I just think that, yeah, you can make money that way, but you're not going to bring as much value that way. And I think in this economy that we're in now, and where we're going from here to now, past this, well, I'm gonna say past this pandemic, we ain't past it yet. But going forward is that we have to, if we want to be relevant and we want to be excellent, then we have to bring value to our marketplace, to our customers, and I don't want to say even to our competitors.
Yeah,
I
right.
got couple people watch my videos like, oh man, I'm gonna go out there and I'll sell you. I'm like, good, man. Bring it on. Let's do it, because that makes me raise my game. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just thinking with abundance versus scarcity.
Oh.
It's the way to go in this new economy.
Well, I like that you said that, Steve, because I kind of did the same thing. I mean, what is this? My seventh market I've been into. And the previous market was I kind of maintained the old ways of doing business. And it was like quicksand. I just kept sinking further and further faster because
Yeah.
I was trying to do the same thing over and over again. And I did the same thing. I took the month of April off, man. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna just see what I can do from the eagle's eye or whatnot. So I like that you said that as well, because again, shifting, it's hard. It's definitely hard, And the other thing that you said, like, yeah, shifting from a hustle to a business, that's hard too, but when you add value, that's when you become a business, not a hustle, right? Because
That's
that's
right.
what happens sometimes, because when you're hustling, yeah, you can make some money, but it's confusing. You don't know what's going on. But once you change that and shift that to a business, now you're teaching people what to do as well, besides just you doing the business. So no, I like what you said that.
Yeah, man. And
This
that requires, requires a little bit of courage, because
Yes, it
especially
does.
when we have been doing stuff for our whole lives with something, it's auto, it's like auto, you know what I mean?
Autopilot.
It's ingrained with us, you know what I'm saying? And so to go outside of that is a hella uncomfortable. And then it's like you start thinking about all the negative things, all the negatives. So it requires some
Right.
courage, y'all, but that's what is required of us leaders, and
Correct.
now and going forward.
Yeah,
You know
this
what?
shift to, oh, go on. Finish your thought, Michael.
No, what I was going to say is this, and I'll end with this, was that fact that in order to be courageous, you got to be in a state of fear. So that's the
Right.
thing about it, right? Like, to be courageous, you got to be in a state of fear. So
Yep.
naturally, yeah, that's what takes us to be past fear, is the courage that you're talking about, Steve.
Yeah, man.
So this question was definitely great. A lot of I see people in the chat saying that your videos are fire, which they are. But this shift to creating uncommon opportunities, then leads to our next shift, which is that we want to discuss, is a reproduction shift. So ladder climbing to ladder building. So the shift is ladder climbing to ladder building, but what's important to identify with this is, we all want to climb the ladder, right? Like all of us, we should, but however, like once we do climb this ladder, it's time to build a ladder for others. So, you kind of already pointed it out a little bit with like your videos that you mentioned. But what are some, ways leaders can build ladders for those in our industry and even for our younger generations?
Yeah, especially for the younger generation, right? Because that's what we doing this for. You know what I mean? If you got kids, that's what you're doing for. If you don't got kids, you may have them. If you don't have them, there's people in your community that, that's what we're doing this for, guys. And the difference between I see ladder climbing and ladder building is the focus. Because in the ladder climbing, it's about you. You know what I mean? You are climbing the ladder. You are going up. Which, like you said, you had best be wanting to do that if you're in real estate, right? You don't want to stay at the bottom of the ladder. But the shift from that point to building the ladder is now the shift go from me to my people. Feel me? It goes from me to the people, because now I'm not saying I'm not concerned with myself, but I'm building the ladder so they all can come up. And guess what though? When they come up, we come up. You know what I mean? But the shift has to go from you to them. And I'll break it down with my experience, right? So starting a company, when I got going in 09, I was all about like, I'm just breaking away from my old brokerage. I want to do my own thing. I want to do my own hustle. So all these foreclosures, I want to make money, which was the case. And then when I would get agents, I would be like, look, I'm running this business off my production, off me getting money. You guys, go out there and hustle, make it happen. Let's go together. In this independent world, I'm really independent, and I figured that everyone else, when they came in, they would just be like me and hustlers and out there getting it, and of course that ain't it, right? And 11 years later, 11 going on 12 years later, what I'm figuring out now is that the company is not about me. You know what I mean? It's about my people. And so if I'm being a wise leader, then I had best spend the majority of my time developing them and building the ladder for them and building the formula for success for them so that they can come up. You know what I mean? And in doing so, I'm not taking away from myself. I'm putting exponential capacity in what we can do, because by by building my team and my people up. And take it a step further, if you do got kids in the family, investing time in them, even in little things like going to their soccer game, baseball game, football game, being at if they're in ballet, being at their practice, not just being there, but talking to them about, okay, well, you need to make this move, you need to make this ballet move, you need to make this soccer move, football move, right? Because you're engaging in them, and when you engage with them, guys, that they soak that up. You know what I mean? And what we put into them comes back to us, particularly in the real estate business. How many of y'all, and I'm dealing with this now, multiple properties, are dealing with something in probate, right? Where the owner of the property, let's about them, their whole career portfolio. I'm in a deal where the seller died in April. We're in a, probate. He had 20 properties, no will, no trust, right? So he climbed the ladder. He climbed the ladder pretty dang good, 20 properties, but he ain't build no ladders. So now his estate is fighting. Everything's in chaos. The state of California is going to get 40%. And there wasn't that concern for the next generation. And in our business, it is our responsibility as professionals, and not just for our agents, if you're a broker, if you're a team, if you run a business of some kind, but for your clientele, the people you serve, if you own buildings, for your tenants, you know what I mean? But more importantly, for your family, because everyone's a leader for their family, even if you work a regular 9 to 5 and you're under the structure of somewhere else, but you're a leader for your family, and you need to build the ladder for them and the next generation.
I do want to chime in briefly too. I want to say that I see this, in the real estate world and outside of the real estate, that there are people stepping up to the plate and they are doing this actively. So I don't want to say that's not happening, because I do see that. I see that with you. I see that with Michael. I see that with other people. So I see that actively. And I think that this whole summit, what it's all about is the education piece, is, especially in the BIPOC communities. So that needs to always be on the forefront of our brains, the forefront of our minds. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. And I know for sure myself, for me, my legacy, like I will make an impact in someone's life, but it's about continuing building the ladders. Like what you said about the guy in the probate, like, okay, like, the state is going to get that. Like no one else is going to get that. Like, 20%. I don't know. Yeah. So it's a matter of setting up for the future generations, and education is always the key. And that's always the unlocking doors that you never could imagine. So, I mean, I think what you just said, you hit the nail on everything you just said. Yeah, for sure.
In our communities, I say that it goes beyond business. For the community, we got to do that. Think about all the people, y'all, for me in Black History Month. Think about all the people that sacrifice. You know what I mean? Like we was not able to be realtors at one point, not just Black folks, everybody. You wasn't white and you wasn't allowed into that club at one period of time. And think about how distorted that made the whole marketplace. You know what I mean? But for us to even be here and to have this summit and to have this content, and as people from all races and backgrounds, it was because somebody built the ladder for us. You know what I mean? And it ain't perfect. We got a lot of work to do. But somebody sacrificed and somebody went out there. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be having this thing here right now. But we are at what ladder can we build for the next generation?
Well, I like what you said too, because sometimes when we think about ladder building, it's not necessarily us building that ladder, right? Like I'm going to fish for you. I could show you how to fish, right? And sometimes it's exampleship. That's how you build ladders, right? So like what you're doing is an example to your family, to the people around you, and especially to our culture, right? They need to see examples of something different. And by building ladders is actually by actions, I believe, not necessarily by sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to build this for you up. It's just, showing them that. So, and that takes me to the next segment here about the next pillar, where we're going from trained leaders to transform more leaders. Like, it's great to make money, but it's better to change lives. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's fire, and from that, and with the ladder building, just before we transition into that, you know, a lot of us get to a point, and when we get to that point, some of our conversations tend to be about ourselves. Oh, I did this to get here. I have this many followers. I'm doing this many production. This. You hear it a lot, you know,
Yeah.
and even myself, sometimes I'm victim of that. Like, oh, guess what I just did, and guess what I just accomplished, and so on and so forth. And to change that narrative to like, okay, now that I'm here, what can I do to get the next person here? You know, and that's going into the next question here is like, you know, we train our people, but how can we do it in a way that's impactful, that's actually transforming their lives, their community, and the culture around you? So what are some of the things we can do to take them from trained agents to transformal agents?
Yeah, man. And that's a big one right there, because and training is important, right? And that's a big thing. As I grow in my company, we got to be trained on our scripts, what to say, you know, our contracts, you know, how to analyze property, all these things, very important. But if we don't make an impact on them, like if we don't connect with them on a different level, then they're not gonna, you know, be like what you're saying, transformative. And they can maybe in here as it relates to numbers or in the business, they can maybe produce, they can do some deals, but they can't, you know, they can't excel. You feel me? They
Correct.
can't flourish. You know, they can close some deals that way, but you know, most of us, we get into this business because we want to flourish. We want to do something big, and you're not going to be able to do that if you don't, you don't have to go through this transformative process, right? And I think what's important in that way is really connecting with people in a sense of what is their pain points, man. When I sit down every year, I've been doing this for the last few years. We, you know, in January, we all set our goals. My company, I schedule time with each of my agents. You know, I don't have 200 agents. I got 20 some agents. One day I might have 200 agents, but I schedule time with them so we can get one on one. So I want to share, you know, get to know them. What is their, you know, goals? You know, what are the numbers they want to hit? But more importantly than that is what is their vision for what, you know, why are they doing this business? Why do they want, they say they want to do 10 million, close 20 deals. Well, why? Oh, I want to make money. Well,
I like
okay, what do you want to make the money for? Oh, I'm going to, you know, have when getting that connection with people, it always leads to some sort of pain point. What I find is
right.
that people want to, like, I came up in East Oakland, right? I wanted to move to the hills because every time I would be on the bus going to Oakland High, I would be looking at the hills and like, man, that's a fat house. You see the houses over there. And I was like, man, that's a fat house. They could probably see the whole bay from there. And you know what I'm saying? Basketball player Brian Shaw had a house up there. And I was like,
Oh
man,
yeah.
and I was just thinking it would be such a peaceful place to live because I'm hearing gunshots every night. I have to walk through
Facts.
3 different dope turfs just to get to the bus station so I can go to school. You feel me? So was that, it wasn't just like, oh, I want to be there and nice, have a Rolls Royce. It was like, man, that place of peace. I wanted that. You know what I mean? And every
Right.
time when you sit down and talk to people, they're gonna, you get into like deep into, oh, how much, not just how many deals you want to close, but why you want to talk, or when you get there, it's gonna be a pain point.
Yep.
And when you figure out what that pain point is, and you say, well, look, these goals, we're gonna work with them together. We're gonna accomplish this together. But it's look, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen with what you've been doing to this point.
I
We
like
have
what
to
you
make the
said.
transportation.
I like
You
what
know
you
what I mean?
said right there, Steve. You know, like two things that really resonated with me. You know, obviously, I'm a plug in our brokerage right now too, Radius Agent Realty. I'm the director of broker expansion. And when I first started recruiting people, I used to just fire off. This is what we can do. This is what we can do.
Yeah,
We're amazing
yeah,
here. Da, 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 da,
yeah,
da,
yeah.
da. And they were
Value
like,
prop,
yeah, see you
right?
later. You know, and then
Yep.
now the first 20 minutes is about, hey, so what are you looking for in a brokerage? What is it that you're looking
Yeah.
for in regards to that? Right. And then it's like the 7-layer deep, right? Like, you know, why? So it's so funny when you mention that, because for me, my why, people ask like, why did you get in real estate? Was it because of architect? Was it because of this? I said, because of diapers. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean,
Yeah.
because of diapers. I was at 24-hour fitness doing really good at what I was doing. My wife was doing really good at what we're doing. And then she pulled out WIC. And I'm like, Wick, like we're on Wick. Like I grew up that way. That's
Yeah.
not what I want for my family. You know what I mean? I want a
Yeah.
whole different lifestyle or whatnot. So I got into real estate because of that, you know? So yeah, once you find that, and now we're transforming lives. My wife, my kids are investing us in real estate right now. But yeah, we grew up from, like you said, I went to school in Lafayette for 1 year because I got too much in trouble in the inner city. So they sent
Yeah.
me there, and I went to houses like, oh my greatness. So that's when I first started seeing wealth, you know, and then bring that back to the block was like, whoa, I want a whole different lifestyle. So when you transform life, I mean, it's good to put students. Don't get me wrong, you guys. It's good to be a top producer. It's good to do all that stuff too. But change one life, I
Yeah.
guarantee you that's better than any paycheck you'll see out there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know,
This is all facts, what you guys are just saying right now. I mean, I could totally resonate with it as well. We can go on. I mean, Steve, we had you on our podcast before in the summertime, and it was all great vibes. We do have to close it off. We are on a time limit. We don't have like all day like we did. But in closing, you know, I am grateful for this conversation about leadership, or, you know, should I say Leadershift? But always great connecting with you, Steve, and getting perspective from you, your insight, your true leader, and nothing but love and, you know, support our way. And thanks for everyone tuning in. We do have a couple of minutes, right, for questions?
Yeah, we definitely
Okay,
do.
cool.
So, so yeah, Steve, thanks a lot for that, you guys. And again, listen to What's Up Real Estate. We're on all platforms. These are the type of conversations we have. Our podcast is not based about top producers, which there's plenty of outlets out there for that. We want to talk about issues within our culture, the BIPOC and the underserved community. We bring people on like Steve. We just did one with a power couple about a married couple who works together. We just had Jeff Phillips on talking about his People's podcast that's going on. So our podcast is all about collaboration. If you're looking to join one of our sessions, please reach out to us as well. But yeah, let's go to a quick question. The first question is going to go, and it's not about leadership, but it's justly a real estate question. So what are some benefits, Steve, on creating an LLC in real estate? And this came from Rick Camacho, who's also with Radius as well.
Well, okay, excellent question. Okay, first of all, it goes to mindset. When you do this now, when you go, you have to form the papers. You got to go through that. You form a business. So when you do that, first and foremost, you are putting yourself in a business owner's mindset, an entrepreneur mindset, which is going to lead you to greater success than employee mindset in general in this business. Because when you now are thinking like an entrepreneur, you're thinking like a business owner. That's what we talk about. That's how you can make those transformational shifts. Now, from a business practical standpoint, there's some tax benefits from it. You get paid instead of you personally, you get paid to the LLC. And now you do all your business expenses to your LLC, and there's a tax benefit for it. Also, you can develop corporate business credit. Okay, and then you can start making moves. You can open up a business account. You can get, like I said, a line of credit. Now you're making business moves at, under such and such, like Mike Bardales LLC instead of Mike Bardales. And it's that little, it don't seem like a big deal, but it's that little thing right there that goes to that personal, like Angelica was saying about the personal branding. Like we could throw our brands up and do something which is important, but taking that next step to formalize it with that entity now puts you in a better tax situation, but more importantly, a better mentality. But also, technically, you got some business benefits from it as well. Building your business credit, also building your profit and loss statement if you're trying to get finance for something down the line, and the bank's going to look and say, okay, it's not just a regular real estate agent, this is a business.
Exactly.
So a couple of benefits.
Yeah. So again, look out for Steve's video. He's on YouTube, Infinity Investments. Look out for him. He has tons of videos out there. And again, everyone's asking me what the podcast name is. It's literally What's Up Real Estate. Again, it's with Angelica, Ojeda, the Soul Realtor, Michael Bardales, the Latinx Realtor. Thanks again, Steve. Y'all stick around. We got some last words. However, I want to bring out Kaylee. Kaylee, are you there?
I'm here.
Kaylee, thank you so much for allowing us to do our podcast live here. It was the first time we did it. It was very exciting. Love talking about the topic. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk a little bit about Radius and get that next raffle out.
Right on. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. All right. I think we're all pulled up here. Michael, thank you so much. Like he said, my name is Kaylee. I'm the agent partnership manager for Radius Agent Realty, and we're happy to have Mike and Angelica on today, who are aligned to the brokerage. For those of you who missed it at the top of the call, kicking off Summit, Radius Agent Realty is our virtual modern brokerage. We are currently licensed in Colorado and California. Some pretty exciting expansion plans through the rest of the US. So keep following us on social media so that you can see where we're headed. What I'm showing you today is all of the areas in which we are supporting our agents. So most importantly, branding center. Angelica put it really well. Something that's really important to us is to make sure that the brand of the brokerage never overshadows the personal brand of an agent. And so we put a lot of work in helping our agents establish their personal brand, down to a color scheme and a logo, all of which extends through your marketing assets. So what we do for our new agents is to go through kind of a workshop to establish, or in some cases, optimize a personal brand. So what we want to offer to our summit attendees today is a condensed version of that. So in the chat, you'll find a link to have a free branding audit. So check that out. We'll walk you through some of the activities that we do with our agents, and so you can kind of get a taste of what it means to be a part of the brokerage. So with that said, we promised a prize giveaway. And so for this session, we're looking at the Google Nest Hub. So I'm going to imagine everybody's doing a drum roll. Jerry Allen, thanks Steve, I saw you doing that. Jerry Allen, he is our winner of the Nest Hub. We will be in touch with you to coordinate getting that prize your way. And I want to leave with kind of the back half schedule for the rest of Summit. So your next session is going to be Profit with Personality. So keep an eye out for that. And then take a look here at the other sessions that are coming up and make sure you tune in.
All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in today. Stay tuned for our next session. Peace, love, and real estate, y'all.